So, good morning to all. First of all, thanks for the joining this session. Uh, Myself, I'm Mahesh Babu. I have total 8+ of experience in AWS DevOps. Previously, I worked as a senior DevOps engineer in Wipro Technologies. So, as of now, I am giving the full-time trainings on various institutes. Okay, so I have worked with the a cloud engineer and DevOps engineers in various projects in Wipro Technologies, Walker Software Solutions, etc. So now I would like to give small demo on AWS DevOps. So before we're going to discuss the AWS Amazon Web Services, first we need to understand the cloud computing. So I think all are working people, right? Pravalika, Ravi, Sharanya, Vinay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So So first of all, what is meant by cloud computing? What is cloud computing? So basically, cloud computing is a platform. Cloud computing is a platform which is used to provide the on-demand IT resources over the internet. Is called cloud computing. That means we need to use the someone else things or computers. Okay. So with the help of cloud computing, we need to provide the IT resources. So what are the IT resources available in? Okay. So what are the IT resources? IT resources means computing services, network services, power, security, storage, servers, etc. Because if you want to deliver any project, if you want to develop any project and deliver to project to the client, we need to set up the infrastructure. That infrastructure consists of IT resources. So you need to develop any application like a single tier application, two tier application, or three tier applications. So definitely you need to use some IT resources. So IT resources contains the computing services, network services, power services, security services, storage services, servers, etc. Okay, so these are all the IT resources which will be provided by the cloud computing, which will provided by the cloud computing over the internet, over the internet. That is called cloud computing. So, for example, if you want to deliver one project to the client, so we need to set up the infrastructure. So, what do you mean by infrastructure? So, the before cloud computing, that infrastructure we need to purchase. We need to purchase in the market. Like we have to purchase the computers, we have to purchase the web servers, we have to purchase the database servers, we have to purchase the network, we have to purchase the storage, we have to purchase the power and power backup, we need to set up the server room, and we need to set up air conditioner, and we need to hire the network admin team to set up the network related activities, and we need to hire the server admin team to set up the server related activities, and we need to hire the database admin team to set up the database related activities. And also, we need to take a room for rent, and we need a security guard to monitor our server room, and we need to keep high security for our server room. So these are all the infrastructure belongs to develop one project to the client. Okay, so these are all the things we need to purchase in the market, and with the help of network admin team, server admin team, database admin team to set up the infrastructure. Okay, so but setting up the application infrastructure is a costly operation and it is time-taking process. So instead of we are purchasing and setting up the infrastructure, we can take the help of cloud providers. Okay, so physical purchasing is a very costly operation, and setup process also a time-taking process. So that's why instead of the purchasing and setting up the infrastructure to develop any application, we can take the help of cloud providers, means cloud computing. So what are the cloud providers available in the market? So there are multiple cloud providers available in the market. They are AWS, Amazon Web Services is the one of the cloud provider. Microsoft Azure is one of the cloud provider. GCP, Google Cloud Platform, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Salesforce Cloud, etc. These are all the cloud providers available in the market to provide the infrastructure for rent on pay-as-you-go model. That means they will provide the services on a rent basis. They will provide a services on the rent basis. Okay. So use the services and pay the money for use. So they will provide the infrastructure on the rent basis means we need to use that service. Then after we will pay the money. Example: credit cards, postpaid bills, etc. So another example is when you have function in our house, we are not going to purchase chairs and tables and etc. related things. We will take them for rent and we will use our function. After that function, we will return that material to the owner and we will pay rent amount for usage. Similarly, whatever the infrastructure, like infrastructure means machines, servers, network, power, storage required for our application, we can take the help of cloud providers to set up the infrastructure. Okay, so means how much we use, that much we need to pay for them. That is pay as you go model. So AWS is one of the famous cloud provider available in the market, which will provide the IT infrastructure for rent basis. So with the help of IT infrastructure, we can develop the application. So first of all, what do you mean by application or application architecture? Basically, application contains three layers. Application contains three layers. One is front-end layer, which is also called as presentation layer. This is front-end layer or front-end component. Front-end component. This is the back-end component. This is the database component. So every application consists of three layers: front-end layer, back-end layer, database layer. So front-end layer, which is also called as a presentation layer. So this is the UI page. So UI means user interface. Okay. So this is the backend layer. Backend layer consists of business logics. Business logics. This is the database layer. Okay. So if you want to develop the front-end layer, front-end application, definitely you will use front-end technologies like HTML, CSS, JS, etc. These are all the front-end technologies. And if you want to develop the backend components, definitely you will use the programming languages like Java, .NET, or Python, etc. Python, etc. And the database layer contains the it is online online storage like we'll store the data, online data, okay, in the form of rows and columns or tabular formats or key value formats. Okay, so here we are using the MySQL database to store the application data information. Okay, so this contains the this application contains the three layers that called as a three-tier application, or three-tier architecture, three-tier architecture. So here in the application, the front, whenever the user hits the logging the web application using the UI page, and he will create one request. That request will be sent to the will receive to the backend component. So backend component contains the business logics. So based on the business logics available in the backend component, that retrieve the data, whatever the information available in the database, that information will be retrieved to the front end UI page by using the business logics. Okay, so for example, I want to sign in the Gmail page. I want to sign in the Gmail page. So I have to use the UI page to sign in the Gmail page. So whenever put the credentials like username and password and here and submit the button, then it will create the request. That request will be sending to the backend component. So backend component contains the business logics, like that information will be correct or not. That needs to be verified by using the database component. So once verified the credentials inside the database components, then after successfully logged into the sign-in page of the Gmail account. Okay, so this is the application. So application architecture, application architecture. So every application consists of three layers. Presentation layer, it contains the user interface or front-end component. Then second one is application layer. It contains the core business logic, and our database layer. It is the database used to store our application data permanently. Okay, so every application should be deployed into the web server. Every application should be deployed into the web server. So here, so I want to deploy the application inside the web server. First, I need to create the Linux machine. I need to create the Linux machine. So inside the Linux machine, I need to set up the web server component, web server. Okay, this is the web server. So inside the Linux machine, I need to set up the web server. After that, I need to deploy the application inside the web server. I need to deploy the web application inside the web server. So before going to deploy the application into the web server, we need to compile and package the code. We need to compile and package the code. Compile and package the code, because the web server, we did not directly deploy the code into the web server, because the web server did not understand the original source code. So that's why we need to compile. So while compilation, the original source code converts into the bytecode. That means it is a class. It will be generating the class folder. So that class folder will be packaged. Will be packaged. Packaged means like we need to convert the jar file or war file or zip file, etc. So here we are using the some of the build tools. Okay, some build tools available in the market to compile and package the code. So one package will be successful, then package will be deployed into the web application server. Package will be deployed into the web application server. Okay, so once the package will be deployed into the web application server, then after the- then after users can access our application through the internet by using the IP address or DNS name, domain name specific. Okay, so that is the application. Once application will be deployed successfully into the web server, and the users can access our application through the internet, and we deployed application in one server, definitely the load will increase on that server. So to reduce the burden on this server, we will run our application in multiple servers, not only single server. The same application will be deployed into the multiple servers to balancing the load, to balancing the to balancing the load. Okay. So that's the load balancing is one of the technique which will distribute the users traffic into the multiple servers to handle the load. Okay. So even we deploy the application into the web application server, definitely we need to set up the infrastructure. So infrastructure, already we discussed the infrastructure contains the IT resources. So to run our application into the web application server, we need to do all the above activities like purchase the computers, web servers, database servers, network, storage, power backup, server room, AC, network admin team, server admin team, database admin team, security guard. We need to provide some security tools. Okay. So these are all the infrastructure setup. So infrastructure setup is costly and a time-taking process. To overcome all the above challenges, we can go for cloud computing. Okay. So cloud computing is the process of delivering IT resources on demand basis. Okay. There are multiple cloud providers available in the market like AWS, Azure, GCP, Salesforce, Alibaba, Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud, etc. So these are all the cloud providers which will provide the IT infrastructure based on pay-as-you-go model. Means pay for use. Pay for use. So that is the importance of the cloud computing. So what are the advantages of the cloud computing? So cloud computing has the many advantages like it provides the cost effective, it provides the security, and it provides the scalability, availability, reliability, and we need to do some backup and ease of use, and provides the unlimited storage. So these are all the advantages of the cloud computing. I think, are you able to follow me, uh, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in cloud computing, there are three types of cloud services available. One is IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Second one is PaaS, platform as a service. Third one is SaaS. Available with the IaaS services. So, so we can take the infrastructure. IaaS means platform as a service. Means and they will give the one platform to run our application. Example, in AWS, Google App Engine, Adobe Reader, etc. In another example is PDF document. Convert the Word format into the Google PDF format. I love PDF Word document. Then that platform will take that document and convert into the PDF format. That is the platform as a service. In SaaS model, cloud provider will give someone will give the software. We will use that. So these are all GCP, etc. Any cloud provide the access. Okay. So based on the AWS. So AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. So it is managed by the Amazon company. It is one of the leading cloud provider in the market. So they will start to providing IT resources over the internet from 2006 onwards. So as of now, they will provide the services 190 plus countries. And AWS is providing 200 plus services. That 200 plus services belongs to IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And AWS is providing the cloud services based on pay-as-you-go model. Pay-as-you-go model. So in our course, in our AWS course, uh, we do not discuss the total 200 plus services. So out of 200 plus services, in real time, maximum 16 services they are using the real time projects. So that 16 services we will discuss in our course content, like computing services, AWS EC2 service is available. So EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud to create the virtual machines, and the EBS Elastic Block Store to store the data in the form of blocks, and S3 it is a storage service in the form of to store the data in the form of objects, and RDS relational database service to create the SQL databases or Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL, etc. And how to set up the networking activities in AWS. We have one service is available, VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, Route 53 domain name mapping, Elastic Beanstalk, PaaS model, and IAM is the Secrets Manager service, Identity and Access Management, and ECS Elastic Container Service. We want to deploy the application. Instead of we are using the servers, we can deploy the application through the containers. In that scenario, we are using the ECS to run the containers, and ELB, Elastic Load Balancer, and auto scaling scalability. Lambda, it is a serverless computing service, means run the code without thinking about the servers. Nowadays, all companies are using the Lambda service to provide the application through the customers. And if you want to monitor the servers or applications, you can use CloudWatch. And if you want to provide the infrastructure in an automated way, means you need to create the infrastructure in an automated way, you can use CloudFormation service in AWS. If you want to store the images, like application images, you can use the Elastic Container Registry. Or if you want to deploy the images in the microservices, you can use EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. So these are all the 16 services available in our course content. So out of 16, we need to discuss 13 services in AWS, and the remaining 3 services we will discuss in DevOps. That 3 services are ECS Elastic Container Service, ECR Elastic Container Registry, EKS Elastic Kubernetes Service. Okay. So this is the importance of AWS. I think all of you understood the importance of AWS and cloud computing, right? If you have any doubts, please ask me. Kavita, Pravalika, Ravi, Sharanya, Vinay.
At present, I don't have any.
Okay, thank you. So now, next coming to the DevOps part. So basically, AWS is providing the infrastructure on a rent basis. So with the help of infrastructure, we need to set up the environment. That environment will be setting up by the DevOps methodology. So that's why DevOps came into the picture. Okay. So for example, I want to develop the application. I want to develop the application into the web, inside the web server, inside the web server. So first we need to compile the code. Then after we need to package the code like jar package, var package. That jar or var package deployed into the web server. This is the jar or var, app.var or app.jar, etc. Okay. So how to deploy the var package or jar package inside the web server? Okay. So we need to use DevOps methodology to deploy the var package inside the web server. So before we going to deploy the app.var inside the web server, we need to prepare the environment with the help of AWS services. So we are taking the AWS services on a render basis. Then after we need to prepare the environment by using DevOps methodology. Finally, we can package the code and to deploy the package into the web server. So coming to the DevOps part, so DevOps consists of development and operations. Development and operations. So basically, one thing I need to remember, DevOps is not a software. Okay. So DevOps is not belongs to one tool. So DevOps is a process or DevOps is a culture. So DevOps is a process in which it is used to collaborate between the development and operational works. Development works and operational works in a software development lifecycle. SDLC, calling it as SDLC, software development lifecycle. Okay, so in DevOps, as a DevOps engineer, I need to collaborate in development team and operations team in a software development cycle to deliver the project to the client quickly with quality. So that is called as DevOps. So DevOps is a method, DevOps is a culture, DevOps is a process. But DevOps is not a software. DevOps is not a software. So here, two types of teams available in DevOps methodology. One is development team and second one is operations team. So what are the activities performed by the development team? So development team are also called as programmers. So development team contains the front-end developers, back-end developers, or full-stack developers, etc. So what are the activities performed by the development team? So development team can collect the requirements from the client, and then requirements they will analyze, and they will planning, they will implement, and finally testing the code, and finally code integration will be happened. So these are all the responsibilities provided by the development team. Okay. And what are the activities performed by the operations team? Operations team is also called as support engineers. So support engineers means multiple teams works in the operations team like setting up the machines, setting up the networks, setting up the servers, setting up the databases, and prepare the infrastructure for project execution. Take the project code from the repository, perform the project build means compilation of the code, and package the project, convert the code into the compiled code into the jar or var package, and deploy the project means deploy the jar or var into the server, and finally deliver the project to the client. See, these are all the activities performed by the operations team. So in this DevOps, development team is doing by one team and operations are doing by the another team. So there should be a collaboration between the development team and operations team to deliver the project to the client with quickly with quality. If there is no communication between the development team and operations team, then project delivery will become slow and client will lose his business. That's why DevOps culture came into the market. So if you use the DevOps process or methodology to develop the application, you need to prepare the infrastructure setup. You need to prepare the infrastructure setup. So to run a project, we need to prepare the environment. That environment, prepare the environment. While prepare the environment, we need to take the infrastructure from the AWS cloud. Not only AWS or Azure or GCP, etc. Any cloud. So environments means it is the platform which is used to run our project. Okay, so environment consists of the computers, networks, power, air conditioner, web servers, database servers, storage, security, etc. Okay, so here infrastructure setup. Some companies will purchase the infrastructure and set up the infrastructure. That infrastructure is called as on-premises infrastructure. Okay, in a real time, some of the companies will purchase the infrastructure and setting up the infrastructure. That infrastructure is called as on-premises infrastructure. And if we set up the on-premises infrastructure, then we have to purchase, then we have to set up, then we have to manage everything required for our project. It requires a lot of money and time. It requires a lot of money and time. So instead of setting up on-premises infrastructure, we can go for cloud infrastructure. Okay. So what are the drawbacks of the on-premises infrastructure? While you setting up the on-premises infrastructure, definitely you have to purchase the infrastructure. Then after you have to set up and managing everything required for our project. Okay, it is a time-taking process and a waste of money. So instead of setting up the on-premises infrastructure, some most of the companies go for the cloud infrastructure. So if you go for cloud infrastructure, we can take all the softwares required for our project to take for rent basis. Then cloud provider will manage the infrastructure. So we just need to use the infrastructure and pay money for our usage. That's why AWS is one of the leading cloud provider available in the market. Okay. So while preparing the infrastructure means while preparing the environment using the infrastructure, the prerequisite to setting up the infrastructure is Linux. So Linux is one of the operating system which will use in real-time projects. It is a free and open source operating system. So if you want to set up the infrastructure, you will take Linux OS because Linux OS can support multi-user based operating system. It supports multiple users. But Windows operating system, it supports only single user based operating system. So that's why most of the companies are using the Linux operating system to setting up the infrastructure. And also we will use some shell scripting to automate our regular works like server restart, database data backups, log backups, temporary files deletes, etc. So after learning the Linux and AWS, then only we can set up the infrastructure in the AWS cloud to deploy our application. So once infrastructure will be developed using the AWS cloud, then after we can build and deploy the code. So basically developers will develop the project using any programming language, Java, Python, etc. So and the developers will keep the code in the repository. So this is one of the DevOps tools, repository tools or source code management tools. So once the developers write the code in his local repositories, local machines, then that code will be will be sending to the repository tools. There are multiple repository tools available in the market like SVN Subversion, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, etc. These are all the repositories which will be used to store the developers code. So once the developers store the code inside the repositories. Then DevOps engineer came into the picture. So DevOps engineer should take that code from the repository, DevOps, and he should perform the project build and deployment. He should perform the project build and deployment. So project build means converting the project source code into the executable format. Means original source code into the byte code. Convert the byte code. That is project build. And project deployment means keeping project executable file into the web application server. Web application server. So after the deployment, we can deliver the project to the client. So here, multiple stages available in the DevOps life cycle. One is developers write the code, and that code will be pushed to the GitHub repository. Then DevOps engineer take the code from the GitHub repository. Then you should perform the build and deploy the code into the web application server. Finally, deliver the code to the client. So DevOps engineer sometimes some DevOps engineer will automate the project build and deployment. So DevOps engineer did not use manual methodology to deploy the code. So DevOps engineer will use some automation techniques to build the code and deploy the code into the web application server. So to automate the build and deployments, DevOps engineer will use several tools. These are all the DevOps tools. Here, first one is repository tools. So repository tools available in the market is GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, etc. So repository tools are used to store the developer's code only. Store the developer's code only. Next, build tools. So Maven, Gradle, and etc. So these are all the build tools which will be used to convert the original source code into the executable format. Executable format. Then executable format means we can create the package. We can create the package like jar or war package. So once the build is successfully completed, then we need to review the code. We need to review the code means we need to check the code quality of the code. So here we are using the Sonar Cube to check the quality of the code. Sonar Cube or Sonar Link. Once the code review is completed, then package will be stored into the Nexus or JFrog repository tools. So these are all the artifactory tools. Nexus or JFrog artifactory tools. These are used to store the artifacts. Artifact means package. Artifact means package. So once artifacts will be stored into the Nexus or JFrog repository, then we are using the deployment tools like Jenkins or Bamboos to pull the artifact from the Nexus or JFrog into the web application server. Okay, so these are all the tools, deployment tools, artifactory tools, code review tools, build tools, repository. And here DevOps tools, some containerization tools also available, Docker, and orchestration tools also available, Kubernetes. Because nowadays all companies are using microservice based applications, right? Microservice based application means all in one platform. All in one platform means all the services in one platform, that is microservice application. So if you want to deploy the microservices or you want to manage the microservices, you need to use the containers, Docker and Kubernetes to orchestrate the platform or to orchestrate the microservices. And if you want to monitoring the applications, you can use the New Relic monitoring tool. Or if you want to monitoring the server, you can use the Grafana or Prometheus, multiple monitoring tools available in the market. Or if you want to configure the servers, you can use the Chef, Puppet, Ansible. And if you want to create the infrastructure in automated way using the Terraform, it is a ISC code. So these are all the DevOps tools. So with the help of DevOps tools, DevOps engineer will automate the project build and deployment. So while develop the project, while developing the project using the DevOps tools, okay, companies are follows the software development lifecycle, SDLC. So SDLC is it is a process. It is a process of implementing the software project from beginning to the ending is called as software development lifecycle. So software development lifecycle having multiple phases. One is requirement gathering, analysis, design or planning, implementation or development, testing, deployment, delivery, and maintenance. These are all the software development lifecycle phases. So based on the phases, SDLC methodologies are divided into two types. One is waterfall methodology, second one is agile methodology. So what is the difference between the two, waterfall methodology and agile methodology? So basically, waterfall methodology is the first methodology that got introduced in SDLC. So waterfall methodology follows the linear approach. Means after completing one step, then only we will go for the next step in waterfall methodology. So in waterfall methodology, we can't go in backward direction, only go in forward direction. And in waterfall methodology, requirements and budget is fixed for the project. And client involvement is very less in the project. And the client will see the project output at the end. Okay, so this is the waterfall methodology features. But this waterfall methodology is only recommended for the small scale applications. It is not recommended for large scale applications because in today's world, every day the requirements are changing to meet the customer needs. So day by day, at every minute, every second, every hour, the client requirements are changing to meet the customer needs. So that's why software companies are using the agile methodology to develop the project with the help of DevOps methodologies. So IT companies are follows the agile methodology to develop and deliver the project. In agile methodology, requirements are not fixed and the budget is also not fixed. And client in agile methodology, client can change the requirement at any point of time. At any point of time. And agile methodology follows the iterative approach to develop and deliver the project to the client. But in waterfall methodology follows the linear approach. Linear approach. Agile methodology follows the iterative approach. So agile methodology development and testing will happen parallelly. But in waterfall methodology, once the development is completed, then only go for testing. But in agile methodology, development and testing will happen parallelly. And project requirements will be divided into multiple releases. So client will give the requirements to the development team. Then development team develop the code based on the client requirements. For example, client will give the 100 requirements to develop the project. In agile methodology, we are taking the agile methodology to divide the project requirements into the multiple releases. So those are called the sprints. Those are called the sprints. So in sprints, we have the separate components is available. One is sprint planning, sprint, scrum, retrospective, etc. So sprint planning means it is a meeting in which we will identify the priority requirements to deliver. So out of the client will give the requirement, client give the requirements to the development team. So development team will conduct one meeting. That meeting is called as sprint planning. In this sprint planning, so development team will identify the priority requirements. What are the priority requirements to deliver the client, to deliver to the client. So once requirements are fixed, then sprint will start. So sprint means fixed set of requirements that are finalized for delivery within timeline. Within timeline. So every sprint will have 2 weeks of duration. Once 2 weeks completed, that 2 weeks code will be deployed into the web application server. So while sprint is going on, one Scrum Master will be available to take the daily status call to update our work status, like Scrum call. It is also called as stand-up call. It is also called as status call. So in Scrum call, we will discuss what we have done for today. Okay. Fourth one is retrospective meeting. Retrospective meeting means which will be conducted after the sprint completion. So once 2 weeks of duration, the sprint will be completed. Once after, they will conduct the retrospective meeting. So in retrospective meeting, they will analyze the what we have done in the sprint, what are the achievements, what are the lessons we have learned, and improve areas and the new ideas. So there are all the things they will discuss in retrospective meeting. So one Scrum Master will be available to manage our Scrum meeting. So this is the introduction about the DevOps, importance of DevOps. So DevOps is a methodology. The main thing is DevOps is methodology which will be used to develop the application using the DevOps methodology. So while using the in DevOps methodology, we will use the several tools like SCM tools, build tools, monitoring tools, deployment tools, containers tools. So if you want to set up if you want to set up the platform using the DevOps tools, definitely you will take the infrastructure from the AWS cloud on a rent basis. Okay, so you need to set up the infrastructure with the help of AWS and the DevOps tools. Definitely you will learn Linux fundamentals. Though, so the prerequisite to learn the AWS DevOps is Linux fundamentals. Okay, so here no need to having the any knowledge on coding part. So this is a zero coding course. Okay, non-coding course. Okay, but of 10 to 15% we need to get the knowledge on shell scripting, some basic shell scriptings. Okay, so this is the introduction about importance about AWS DevOps. All of you understood the importance of AWS and the importance of DevOps? Please ask me if you have any doubts. The course duration is 75 days. 75 days. In 75 days, first 15 days, we will discuss the Linux fundamentals. Then 1 month, coming to the next 30 classes, we will discuss about the AWS 16 services. In DevOps, we will take the 35 to 40 classes to complete the DevOps tools. So once we complete the course, we need to discuss the real-time projects, 3 real-time projects. Okay. Have you any doubts? Please ask me. Akila, Kavita, Pravalika, Jyoti, Ravi, Saranya. అందరికీ అర్థమైందా? ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే అడగండి అమ్మా, చెప్తాను కోర్స్ గురించి.
సో ఇప్పుడు ఈ కోర్స్ అయ్యాక
ఓకే,
ఈ AWS లో అసోసియేట్ సర్టిఫికేట్ ఇలా ఉంటాయి కదా, దేంతో
అవునండి.
కంపేరబుల్ ఉంటుందండి?
ఇప్పుడు మనం కోర్సు నేర్చుకునేది మనకి క్లౌడ్ ఎసెన్షియల్ ప్రాక్టీషనర్ సర్టిఫికేట్ అంటే క్లౌడ్ అసోసియేట్ కి సరిపోతుందండి.
క్లౌడ్ అసోసియేట్ కి సార్. ఓకే.
నెక్స్ట్ సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్టెక్ కి వచ్చేసరికి కొంచెం ఇన్ డెప్త్ గా ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాల్సి వస్తుంది.
ఓకే. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఇస్ సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్.
సొల్యూషన్స్ ఆర్టెక్ట్.
ఓకే.
ఇంకెవరికైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా?
సో ఇది క్లాస్ ఎవ్రీడే 1 hour ఉంటుందా స్టార్ట్ అయినప్పుడు?
అవునండి, ఎవ్రీడే 1 hour ఉంటుందండి.
75 days.
75 days అండి. వీక్లీ 5 days ఉంటుంది. సమ్ టైమ్స్ సాటర్డే కూడా క్లాసెస్ కండక్ట్ చేస్తాము, ఒకవేళ వీక్ డేస్
ఓకే.
ఏదైనా మిస్ అయితే. ఎవ్రీడే రికార్డింగ్ ప్లస్ డాక్యుమెంట్ అంతా కూడా మీకు గూగుల్ డ్రైవ్ యాక్సెస్ ఇస్తాము, అందులో మీకు ఉంటాయి.
ఓకే.
ఆఫ్లైన్ అయినా రావచ్చు, లేదంటే ఆన్లైన్ అయినా అటెండ్ అవ్వచ్చు అండి.
ఓకే.
మ్మ్. ఇంకెవరికైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా?
హాయ్ అండి. సో
హాయ్. మ్మ్.
ఇది ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ కమాండ్స్ ఇది కన్సోల్లో చూపిస్తారా అండి?
అంతేనండి. మనం అందరం కూడా ఒక అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకుంటాము. ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ అకౌంట్, ఫ్రీ టైర్ అకౌంట్ ఉంటుంది.
ఓకే.
సో మనం ఏదైనా ఒక సర్వీస్ గురించి డిస్కస్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆ సర్వీస్ని ఎలా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయాలి, ఎలా యాక్సెస్ చేయాలి, ఎందుకు
ఓకే.
దాన్ని ఎందుకు యూజ్ చేస్తారు రియల్ టైంలో, దాన్ని ఎలా క్రియేట్ చేయాలి, దాని అవుట్పుట్ ఏమొస్తుంది, అవుట్కమ్ ఏమొస్తుంది అనేది మనం డిస్కస్ చేయాలండి.
ఓకే. సో సిఎల్ఐ యూజ్ చేస్తారా అండి ఏమైనా?
కమాండ్ లైన్ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ ఉంటుంది, లేదంటే కనుక థర్డ్ పార్టీ సాఫ్ట్వేర్ టూల్స్ ఉంటాయి. మొబాక్స్టమ్ అని, పుట్టి అని,
ఓకే.
గిట్ బ్యాష్, సిఎండి ఇవి యూజ్ చేసి మనం కనెక్ట్ అయ్యి చేసుకోవచ్చు.
ఓకే. ఓకే.
సో మోస్ట్ ప్రాబబ్లీ ఇక్కడ మనకి ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్కి వచ్చేసరికి అన్ని కూడా మనకి యూఏ సర్వీసెస్ ఉంటాయండి. డైరెక్ట్గా ఫ్రంట్ ఎండ్ డైరెక్ట్గా క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవడము. సమ్ టైమ్స్
ఓకే.
ఏదైనా నెట్వర్క్ ఇష్యూ వచ్చినప్పుడు, ఏదైనా అప్లికేషన్ డిప్లాయ్ చేసినప్పుడు మాత్రం సర్వర్స్ మాత్రం మనం కనెక్ట్ అయ్యి అప్లికేషన్ డిప్లాయ్ చేయాల్సి వస్తుంది వన్స్ నెట్వర్క్ పార్ట్ కంప్లీట్ అయ్యాక.
ఓకే. సో టెరాఫార్మ్ కూడా కవర్ చేస్తాం కదా దీంట్లో?
కంపల్సరీ అండి. టెరాఫామ్ లేకపోతే
సో
మీరు
అంటే
ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్
ఎంత
నేర్చుకోవడం వేస్ట్.
ఎంత డెప్త్ చెప్తారు దాంట్లో?
బేసికల్గా టెరాఫామ్ లో మనకి 3 మాడ్యూల్స్ ఉంటాయండి. బేసిక్ టెరాఫామ్, నెక్స్ట్ వచ్చి టెరాఫామ్ టెయిట్ అని, అలాగే టెరాఫామ్ గ్రంట్ అని ఉంటుంది. సో మీరు ఏడబ్ల్యూఎస్ నేర్చుకుని టెరాఫామ్ బేసిక్ వరకు నేర్చుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది.
ఓకే.
ఆ,
ఓకే.
అది.
యా. ఓకే అండి. యా.
కుబర్నెటిస్ మొత్తం కవర్ అవుతుంది, అలాగే డాకర్ మొత్తం కవర్ అవుతుంది, జెన్కిన్స్, బిల్డ్ టూల్స్, ఎస్ఎం టూల్స్ అన్నీ కూడా కవర్ అవుతాయండి. సోనార్ క్యూబ్ అని, నెక్సెస్ అని, ఇవన్నీ కూడా. ఇవన్నీ మీరు వన్ బై వన్ ఇండివిజువల్గా నేర్చుకుంటేనే ఫైనల్గా ఒక ప్రాజెక్ట్ని సెటప్ చేయడానికి అవకాశం ఉంటుంది.
సో గ్రూవీ కూడా టచ్ చేస్తారా మరి జెంకిన్స్ లో?
షెల్ స్క్రిప్టింగ్ చెప్తానండి.
షెల్
షెల్ స్క్రిప్టింగ్, అలాగే పైప్ లైన్ స్క్రిప్టింగ్ కూడా చెప్తాను. జెన్కిన్స్ ఆటోమేషన్ చేయాలంటే పైప్ లైన్ చెప్పాలి, పైప్ లైన్ స్క్రిప్టింగ్ చెప్తాను. ఇట్ ఈస్ సిమిలర్ టు ది గ్రూవీ స్క్రిప్టింగ్. నో ప్రాబ్లం.
యా.
ఇంకెవరికైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా కోర్స్ గురించి? ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ ఆల్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అండి. బాయ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.